We are live as usual. Welcome to the Beyond the Veil podcast. I'm Druzy as T, also known as Black Hole Sun Shaman, Black Sun Shaman. Welcome back to another edition, episode 5. We're going to talk to you today about some interesting topics. DNA data transfer, gateway project, how cells can communicate universally, how data can be transferred through your DNA, including to and from devices, upload, download capacity and capability. We're going to get into it for you today. Yeah.
Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. This is going to be an interesting session.
Yes, indeed. How's it going, my brother?
All is well, man. All is well. Making ever positive forward motion to my highest vibrational fields of experience.
That statement is so profound and relevant. And that's how I've known you, since we've met in the flesh, by that mantra statement, affirmation, etc. But yeah, man, I'm excited. A little nervous. This is some heavy information, man, but it's relevant and it's important. So
yeah, it's definitely important during this time, and especially in the path to self-discovery. It's of the utmost.
The utmost, yeah, absolutely. Where should we begin?
I mean, of course, over last week we went over melanin and how melanin has the capability to transfer energy into something usable for the body and its potential military uses and all of that. You know what I mean? So that's a place to start, just to let them know that melanin, not only melanin has the ability to transfer energy, but when you get into information specifically transferring, that DNA and RNA can transfer that information.
Yes, indeed. I just wanted to start out by sharing. Let's maybe share a little bit of this video. Do not own the rights. This is all fair use and for educational purposes only. But let's see here. Let's pull this up for the audience. All right, so this is a video. It's on the Clarity channel. It is not my video. I did not produce this video. Shout out to Billy Carson and the contributors to the Clarity channel. This is called "It Was Only Taught to the Chosen Few." Let's check this out. Just a brief synopsis or portion of it.
Ebook and encoded the
revealing how hidden. Let's dive in.
DNA is a storage medium, meaning it stores information in volumes. And a scientist named George Church actually took a digital ebook and encoded the digital zeros and ones into CTAGs, which are the DNA reading format. And then he downloaded that book onto DNA. Then he said, this is interesting. DNA can store digital data. Then he took the book from the DNA and he uploaded it back, put it in a little device, converted the CTAs and Gs back into zeros and ones, put it back on the server. He said, this has upload and download. It can send and receive information. And then he said, let me replicate
Are
my
you all
book. Let me see how
seeing
much
and
I can
hearing
fit
this?
on 1 gram of DNA. He replicated the book 70 billion times. A full book with images and photos and data and words and paragraphs. He replicated it 70 billion times and put it, 1 gram is a drop, one little tiny drop in
Yeah.
DNA. And he said, wow, now they're sending and receiving information from DNA via wireless information, Wi-Fi. So now,
Bro.
That confirmation for sure.
70 million times?
Downloadable and uploadable information.
An ebook. 70. Did he say billion or million? Wait, I gotta go back.
I think he said 70. I don't know. A billion is what I thought, because he said it trillions of terabytes. I mean, yeah. So that's insanity. 13 billion years of information. He said it had pictures and words.
One gram of DNA.
1
70
gram.
billion times. 70 billion times, y'all.
That makes me think of the explanations that occultists give for the Akashic records. You know, they say that, yeah, they, make a reference to it being available to everyone if they just access it. And then they talk about how it can unfold the past, and it can unfold potential time futures, and you know what I mean, all of that with the Akashic records. And it makes sense that everybody can access it if it's in blood housed or DNA housed information. So that's
1
interesting.
gram of DNA. Upload and download. I mean, that's just unfathomable on a certain level. I mean, very wow, just very fascinating.
I mean, in alignment with this, because we're on this podcast, we can freely do this. The melanin is bringing in energy that's transferable, and then you already have information on your DNA. So if the melanin brings in enough energy through the different methods that it uses, it has the potential to activate certain genetic coding that you would become aware of as your energy raised in.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about what? A crystallized processor. DNA, melanin, crystalline processor, however you want to put it. It enhances the transfer rate.
Yeah.
Whether it be by expansion of speed of transfer, or speed of data transfer, or expansion of the amount of data being transferred per second, or whatever implement of time you want to put into the equation.
Yeah, and then that even makes me think of 5G. 5G is an expansion of data.
Yeah, bandwidth
capabilities. You know what I mean? More storage space. So yeah, it's the potential it's doing the same thing. It could bring you into a same state of awareness if they made that the coverage area. You know what I mean? As that frequency continuously hit, you would change in accordance with that. You know what I mean? Your awareness would change in accordance with whatever frequency and coding was being presented on that network.
Yeah. Had to talk to my little guy for a second. Forgive me, but yeah,
Oh, I know how it goes. I know how it goes.
yeah, man, this is incredible information. Of course, Billy Carson always deals with profound, real data that can be applied if one so chooses to put themselves, into that mindset, to focus on that particular, whatever particular aspect of life that this would, be applicable, which would be on every level.
Oh my goodness. Know yourself to a whole nother level. Know yourself to a whole nother level. And what information could be provided to you outside of yourself if you had all of the information? You had readily available storage in RNA.
Right.
And then you had the deeper past information held within DNA. Then to know yourself would be better than any college degree you could possess.
You better say that again, man. Listen, 13.5 billion years of data of genetic information and its surrounding influences and vibrations. You're not just talking about memory, you're talking about quantum memory on a cellular level with a data that is beyond the speed of light, beyond the speed of thought. The cells are thinking, but we're talking, the cells are vibrating, more importantly, on a frequency that can transfer and receive data almost infinitely.
Yeah.
At least say almost, because I don't have the mathematical genius or capability to relate exactly,
The only foreseeable limitations are those that the physical body have. It would be your memory storage in the brain,
right,
and your muscle memory storage and all of that. It would be their capacity would be your only limitation. And that's not even a limitation if you don't try to hold it.
There you go. You have to, like an open book, zeroed out,
Mm-hmm.
almost at the flatline frequency level, which is, only reached through certain meditative practices, which ties into, the next topic that we have coming up. But I'm not going to segue into that just yet. But, the Gateway program that was implemented by the CIA and studied for quite some time, we're talking astral travel. We're talking holographic projection capability. Being in more than one place at one time by being able to reach a frequency in which the mind can project almost a physical body into an alternate reality or timeline.
Like a dream.
Very similar to a dream, but also very, very, very real. Oftentimes, these days we hear about so much data, so much research that's been done, so many expressions through social media, people posting videos, posting comments, some with higher degrees of knowledge than others, but nonetheless still conveying the same reality of understanding that, we are not our bodies. We are not trapped unless you choose to be in only the physical. Your face lit up, so I'm gonna let you go on and share.
My face lit up only because I have an awareness that brought about the awareness that the body is not the end all. It couldn't be in this particular situation when you're looking at it from an information standpoint held within the DNA and RNA, or you're looking at it from a melanin standpoint. All of that information is available whether or not you have the transmitters and receivers to transmit and receive it. The information itself is still available. And if the information makes up your entire being, literally the blood, it even makes up the blood in your body, you know what I mean, then with or without that body, that information is still going on. And as we'll look at and when we segment into it, with that you being able to project another body, that means that your physical body is still present here while you're present somewhere else. So that takes that eternal perspective and gives it a more solidified viewpoint. Like eternalness may be the reality for real. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it puts me in the mind of a scripture that we've discussed prior. I want to say it's in 2 Corinthians for those, who are Bible readers and believers. Something interesting just to look into within, the text of the scriptures that you hold sacred. Paul, the apostle, the epistle to this Corinthians, the second set of letters or epistles. He says, above the score of 20 years ago, I was caught up into the third heaven, whether in the body or out of the body, I know it's not. Only God knoweth it, but whether in the body or out of the body, I met a man in the third heaven who spoke a language that is not lawful for men to utter. Right. And whenever he went to go brag, he said before the church that God sent a messenger of Satan to buffet him. Right. An adversarial messenger, one who was basically in direct contrast to the energy or spirit that he was cultivating within himself, to basically remind him that he really couldn't claim, ownership of this experience. He was permitted, but that would come through what? Fasting.
RNA.
Yes,
that would come,
but the activation of RNA through what? Fasting, abstaining from being around certain influences or frequencies.
Only for the sake of clarity of self. If you consistently have bombarding frequencies playing to you, you're not unable. It's harder to determine the frequencies that are transferred from inside of you in relation to what's playing on the outside, especially if it's playing anywhere near the same frequency. Then it's really hard to differentiate those subtle differences. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Absolutely. I want to share a little bit more of, with Mr. Carson and
man, I gotta go see this dude.
I'm trying to tell people, period. Like, this dude has evidenced a lot of personal revelatory information that I've received through not just study and meditation and prayer, but visualization, and I guess that would be a part of my meditation, but things that have been shown to me that I had no knowledge of the vernacular to even express to people fully the way that I'm experiencing it or seeing it. And here to come with the scientific data, in a non-religious, not to knock religion, but in a non-religious fashion, to show you how certain things actually work within the framework of us. It's just so interesting and powerful. Well, once again, I don't own the rights to this. I did not contribute to the creation of this video, nor did I partake in any program that was behind the research of the information being conveyed. It's simply a reaction that we wanted to do live for you to this information and share a little further insight on the topic.
Times a full book with images, myths. Now they found 15 to 20 generations of past ancestry lives.
Bill Gates has bought over 270,000 acres of farmland, but he's
Memories, actual memories, are in your body. So 15 to 20 years of your ancestors. So for me, if I have an ancestry of slaves, all the whoopings, the beatings, all the buck fighting, all the teaching of infighting, or I got to be better than this guy because this guy works in the house and he's with the house and I'm outside in the field and now I hate him and all that kind of.
Now he slipped up right there and said 15 years, 15 and 20 years, but he meant 15 to 20 generations.
Right.
Okay. Just to clarify. But yeah, 15 to 20 generations of genetic memory.
Kind of stuff, all those traumas, there's a lot more trauma passed down, they found, through the RNA into the next generation than non-trauma. So trauma triggers something.
Interesting. So through the trauma being transferred through the RNA. So what are your thoughts on that in relation to the mRNA?
For people who do ancestral communication, okay, this should be a moment that gives them a much peace in operating in that type of activity. If what he's saying is true, then the last 15 generations of lives we would have access to, and potentially whole groups depending on what we access in our genetics. So now when you hear what you think would be your grandmother's response, or you hear a ancestral response from somebody that you know is in the line, then that could be you potentially accessing your RNA as opposed to and this is just what they've given, that if you hear voices, then you're a schizophrenic in today's perceptive reality. Now, in an older perceptive reality, that makes you a shaman, that makes you stand in between two worlds. You know what I mean? All of that type of stuff. But in today's society, when you're hearing and dealing with your ancestors on that level, in this world, you're perceived as either schizophrenic or the crazy guy or so forth and so on. But here's a potential, another potential thing that may be occurring is you accessing that RNA information that houses 15 generations, which is a lot of your ancestors.
15 to 20. So like, let's say it could vary according to person or generation, for whatever reasons, right? Whatever outside or inside factors, 15 to 20. I mean, it could be 16, it could be 18, it could be 17. But nonetheless, like, have access to that, puts me in the mind is, like another scripture, we are encompassed about by such a cloud of witnesses. So, you're talking about when you're there, your ancestors are there. Your presence brings about their presence, and you can do ceremonial libations or any other invocation process to bring them along to, hey, if you believe in worshiping or serving a God, they're doing it right along with you, and you can heal their trauma in your present situation. Anyway, that's just so interesting to me, right? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But it just shows you, though, the level of warfare that certain powers that be have focused on with frequency and with direct energy, how they can trigger the trauma response. And it can come from possibly a past life, incarnation, or an ancestor.
This makes me think of a study that they did with Bluetooth effects on DNA directly.
Yes.
Now they say that when the Bluetooth is on, it directly changes the construction of your DNA. It has a direct effect to the construction of your DNA. So, you know, when you're talking about that, the direct energy. So if you have a mental frequency, and they've been mapping the mind. We talked
Absolutely.
about that.
Talked about
Yeah,
that.
they've been mapping the mind. So if you know the frequencies that the mind operate in at different levels of its operation, then if you have a coverage area, and then you also play that frequency through whatever method you're using to pump out your signal, a tower, a transponder receiver of any kind, then you could also play messages on that level, and that would be perceivable just as the naturally occurring information is perceivable.
Right. Man, I don't know why my mind went here. It's not necessarily connected to what you were directly saying, but I was thinking about the transfer rate, the mRNA upload and download, coming in contact with certain people or even devices will rearrange your DNA structure. I believe Billy talks about that in this video. You guys should check it out. It was only taught. It was taught only to the chosen few. Check it out on YouTube, man. Like I said, I'm not trying to claim any connection or credit to the video. Once again, no copyright claim. Simply, fair use. But yes, I remember a couple of years ago, around the time when we really first started to get to know each other, I would walk past appliances and I would not be close up on them. I would be feet away and I would get a shock, a spark. And I remember you telling me you had a similar or same experience during around the same time period, where a lot of people were saying they were receiving uploads and downloads, whether it be from the sun or from other celestial bodies or parts of nature. And a friend of ours was explaining that he was using vape, right? And he's explaining how he would charge it in certain from certain sources, and it was almost like the data that was being discussed or transferred through those electronics were being imprinted, in his mind, to where he was able to talk about and expound upon topics that he hadn't necessarily proactively educated himself on. And it was on such an accuracy level that we were amazed, which takes a lot. Which takes a lot, right, for us.
Yeah, especially to the scientific mind. Like you're like
things that just we didn't know made sense at the time that didn't quite make sense right off, first thought. But yeah, this is powerful information. Hopefully it'll be of some use, tremendous use to our audience. Like, share, and subscribe. I just want to throw that in there. Like, share, and subscribe.
Yes indeed, like, share, and subscribe. And then you made me think of oh goodness, it slipped my mind that fast.
Take your time, man. No problem.
Never mind. It went away from me. But it was just about that. It was about the energy transfer and how the 5G network sustains a level of awareness. Like it'll the 440 megahertz that the digital was switched over to.
Yes,
it was switched over to a 440 megahertz. So if you have a coverage area where and now it's coming back. If you have a coverage area of like 440 megahertz, then that level of awareness would be available to you, just like a monk humming Om for a long time until the brain centers change their activity.
Yes.
And they become aware on a different level of happiness, or they become their medulla oblongata is activated and they're happy. You know what I mean? And they brought themselves into that by humming. The same could be achieved if you had a coverage area. So when you're talking, that's what it was. When you're talking about the direct effects of those energy coming to you, if you got somebody singing on the radio the same song consistently, then it could result in changing of your genetics.
Yes.
If you're people would be careful what you listen to. Be careful what you allow.
Not your genetics, but your DNA. So
your DNA. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, essentially, I guess you could look at it. It can alter your genetic pattern for the next generation. Should you be a contributor, genetically to that next generation, like meaning if you have children after the point of that transition or translation of your DNA into something evolved or altered, positive or negative.
Do you remember anything about this? Lil Wayne knows music well, so he knows what to say on certain frequencies to get the message across better. Have you ever heard that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
I also heard him say that he is not the same. He's a Martian.
Indeed.
People can take that for whatever it's worth and whatever that means to them, because on an esoteric level, we know that it does not mean that he came from the planet Mars, or that he's a citizen of some previous Martian civilization, nor does it negate that that's a possibility.
Especially with 13 billion years of transferable information.
Exactly. And 15 to 20 generations of transferable genetic expression, memory, and information. Absolutely fascinating. But yeah, I mean, so like with mRNA gene therapy, that was the question I think I asked you. The exposure to, the gene therapy that was presented as a form of vaccination, I guess now under modern definition, that has become the adaptation of understanding. So with this knowledge, right, if this were to be presented in a mental court of law, it would stand to reason that coming in contact with that, however, could also alter our DNA, either positive or negative or both. Or so do you think there's an agenda with the oncoming and continuous changing of the frequency, at least on the surface of the planet, to bring about a certain type of change in humanity? Uh-oh.
I will say this. If you knew the frequencies to the different levels of the body, then you can directly affect their genetic composition. The genetic composition in DNA and RNA, or the DNA composition or the RNA composition, or the combination of the two, directly affect cell growth in your body, directly affect how your magnetic body is put together, and how your energy transference goes. So if you wanted to control a person, if you wanted to make a person sick or well, if you wanted to put pressure on a person, if you wanted to remote heart attack a person, if you wanted to do any of these type of operations, then this type of information would be useful in your establishment of those type of misuses of that knowledge. But as far as anybody doing that, I don't know. I'm just saying those are potential realities or weaponizations of this subject matter.
Absolutely. And there's always a potential whenever there's a new discovery or advancement in previous discovery scientifically with certain knowledge to do great good or great harm.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one thing I did notice about people who are, I don't want to say 5G conspiracy theorists. Okay,
Right.
they always speak about the negative aspect uses of this system that is being implemented,
Hmm.
but they never talk about the positive potential uses of said programs, towers, so forth and so on. Just like they can be attuned to a frequency that is detrimental to our development, they can also be attuned to frequencies that are positive to are useful to our development, health, mind, heart, and different levels of our existence.
Absolutely. And I mean, and that is one of the things that held up the implementation of the discovery of that frequency, because you're talking about potentially bringing down the fifth dimension. And I only say down, not in a directional sense, but the download of the fifth dimension for the general universal perception of all organic life to their adapted surroundings and their perception thereof. Uh, so yes, there is potential to do good using that as well, and to
Mhm.
simplify certain things, or to tether um, the realities that always have coexisted and bring them into a common realm of perception or interaction. So
It's interesting that they call they on the conscious side of things, it's a fifth dimensional shift as we transition from one age to another.
mm,
And then they at the same time call the new system coming in 5G. So you have 5D, A, B, C, D. You have 5D, and then you have 5G. You know what I mean? So that's not, just interesting that they would use those.
yeah, and bridging the gap of 5 generations of data transfer capability and information
They
into.
call it fifth gen. They call it
Oh, yeah,
ew.
the G is Gen. Yeah, Gen, which that's another show. But the Gen people, uh, the engines. Okay, so we'll get into that on another day. But yeah, absolutely. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. If you're tuning in, please share. Please share the link. Like, share, and subscribe. Join our locals community. We'll also appear on rumble.com at the current time. But yeah, so with this genetic DNA data transfer, upload and download capabilities, there's an interesting project that one of the most famous government agencies in the world um, conducted a study. Uh,
Oh, 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 are you talking? Never mind. Never mind.
yeah,
The
you
the,
did. Go
the
ahead. Oh, go ahead.
no, there. I know that there is a group or organization out there that was started by the scientists that were left over from all of the things that were going on with Hitler after those cases went out. There was
Oh,
a group started here. I don't know if you're talking about the same group, but go ahead. What you're saying? That's why I stopped myself because I don't know.
no,
What you're
no, I wasn't talking about them, but they may have had some instrumental part within this program,
Okay.
the
Okay.
Gateway program. Actually, you hit me to this on a different level. I'd come across it some years ago, and the information was just so heavy. It's not that I couldn't comprehend it, but it was just so much to try to take on at that time. With what I had going on in life. So
Mhm.
as you reintroduced me to this, it's like, yes, okay, all right. Um, I'm gonna let you take over from here as far as like leading us into that. Um, you know,
I mean, all I can really say about it is it's the hemisync process. So it's to get the left and right hemisphere of the brain to sync in their electrical activity. And remember, we talked about melanin being able to take and transfer energy from one state to another. And we also talked about the ability to access DNA and RNA corresponding to the height of energy you get. Well, hemisync allows for that
process.
energy,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
that process to be synced up. And then so whatever you're thinking about or whatever you're dealing with has a stronger level of awareness to your brain. You're not split minded, so it brings you to a different level of awareness, literally, not figuratively. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
literally brings you to a different state of awareness, depending on, interesting in relation to this, depending on what frequency you're being exposed to, what words you're being exposed to,
Right.
what pictures you're being exposed to at the time of the sync of the hemisync. So that's what the CIA program was about, is developing that process to make it useful for their military and other pursuits.
Right. Of course. Of course. Um, yeah. Like, I mean, so on a certain level, what they discovered would have been the precursor to them developing the technology for Project Bluebeam. Now, these are all declassified. So, we're not trying to school you like we have, like, you know what I mean? Like some astronomically superior information, but these are some things that will help you understand what's going on around you right now. And the deeper concerns of certain political parties or um, office, officials, political officials, about certain technology and about certain laws and the way that they're worded. It should be a concern to us all.
National security is what they say. It should be a
Right,
concern.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already seeing the results of the advancements that were not, of course, announced per se. They were just presented through practical technologies that we would find an everyday use for. Yeah, and so once again, little guy,
Yeah.
gotta love him. That's my buddy. But yeah, it's just we're seeing the evidence of these advancements in our technology, the Android, the iPhone, different operating systems, the technology where your device can hear you and it learns from your conversation what you like, what you don't like, what your interests are, what you're fascinated with, what you're obsessed with, um, what you have in balance and what you lack in discipline. This is all being determined.
Apple just
Lawsuit.
put in a patent for the ear pods
The AirPods, right, exactly.
where
But
they can read your brain waves.
yes, and so interestingly enough, upon that announcement, go on. I'm going to pull something else up while you.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I would with those ear pods having the capability to receive information from your brain, they also have the potential capability to transfer signals to the mind as well. You know what I mean? And just humorously, it reminds me of that movie where the people were holding the cell phone. Do you know that movie? They were holding the cell phones. The signal came in over the cell phone, and everybody went crazy. It was a recent movie that just came out. You know what I mean? Like it. That's what they'll say would be the unnerving part about that type of technology. That means that you have then the capability to read my thoughts and then potential capability to transfer thoughts into my mind. I don't
Well,
think they should get the patent for that.
no, but also you're talking about. Let's go back to a movie that Tom Cruise acted his butt off in, The Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
It was a brother and a sister that had the gift of precognition. They called them the precogs, and they had to be in a pool of water. I wonder why. And then they would have memories and dreams, and they would draw from those dreams and memories and arrest people for future crimes. Can we say a reality on the horizon? And anything, okay, I learned this from my father, who was a journalist. Okay, and he taught me as a child when we would watch these sci-fi movies, anything that they show you in a movie or a television program, they have already developed this and been using it for 43 to 45 years or more. And they have just found the practical use in which they can now use it in the marketplace to fund their further military efforts or discovery, etc. And it all goes in the name of science. So it can be medically useful, it can be militarily weaponized, or used to help, um, not even just weaponized, but help advance the military's understanding of certain things. So, and see, oftentimes the military industrial complex is demonized, but even in the development of weapons, I do want to just say this to help some people evolve in thought. If you have the threat and capability of certain things, you oftentimes would never have to use them. It's just being able to say, I can do this and I can prove it to you. A person or another entity or party will say, all right, let's back off of this. Let's lighten up the discussion. Let's negotiate. As opposed to, if you do this, then I'll do that. And then if I do this and you try to do this, then I'll do that. And it's like, you don't want us to even tap into this. And they're like, yeah, just wanted to put that out there.
You know what? This unfolded something for me as far as I don't know. Of course, you have the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti. He taught of Thoth. Excuse me, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Okay, so in the Emerald Tablets, he talks, as you said. Oh, they get in the chamber of water and then they go and they have these memories and recollections and everything like that. It made me think of a text within there where he says, in the front of the queen's chambers, go to the granite tub and lay in the granite tub for 2 days. And then I will meet you there and I'll take you on a tour of the pyramid. And he'll show you the secret. He said he'll show you the secrets of the pyramid. Okay. So we are a water body. And it takes time for a vibrational awareness to change or to come into our awareness. So if you laid in that tub for 2 days, granite, which produces electricity in its vibrational field of its own, if there was a record overlaid at that same frequency, then after laying in the tub for 2 days, you would acclimate to that awareness and have the necessary DNA and RNA changes to be able to be aware of that particular field of energy after having been in it so long. And then you would be able to be taken on a tour that was left playing on that frequency, potentially. It's just a thought. And that is from that is talked about by Tahuti in the Emerald Tablets.
Very important information. I'm getting ready to delve further into it soon. It was shared to me by a friend. I've been familiar with it for some years, and I've read different parts of it. We all excerpt certain things when we're just new to it. But I'm not new to it, but I am getting ready to acclimate and resurge my interest into one particular chapter at first, and then I'm going to go back. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Up to that chapter, and then I'm going to go ahead. But yeah, I just didn't want to, before it gets too far past the topic, I wanted to show the Apple lawsuit. The
Oh,
Department of Justice is suing Apple, okay, for antitrust law violations alleged. Um, yeah, just so yeah, check that out. You know, when you have time. Tech under tech, CNBC. DOJ sues Apple over iPhone monopoly and landmark antitrust case. At the same time, Apple is suing. Um, Apple is suing a former employee. They say that he leaked details about products that he didn't like from his work iPhone. So now this is very interesting because they want to sue a man for sharing their product ideas before they come out that he has an issue with, but they want to patent, like you were just saying, a technology that would be embedded in their AirPods that would allow them to read your thoughts. Reminds me of the first Batman movie when Jack Nicholson's character, Jack Nicholson playing the Joker, says, "What kind of a world is this?" When a man dressed like a bat can steal all of my press. No, but it's just it's amazing the principles that people will stand on while ignoring the importance of other principles, and don't even see the hypocrisy or pretend not to anyway.
just a random point. Fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. The pineal gland becomes a receptor after it is calcified. It is a form of crystalline structure. If crystalline has, in this discussion, if crystalline has the capability to hold record, and this is responsible for your inner sight, as it is an eye has the connections for that, this is responsible for your inner sight, then your inner sight has the potential to be hijacked through such methodologies. Okay, bypass that. Just a thought that was crossing my mind as we was all talking about all of this. I just put it together. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, wow. I'm looking at the Gateway Program PDF online. It's very limited. That video you shared with me, however, was not of them reading from the documents directly.
yeah.
So check out the Gateway Program, y'all. We want y'all to be aware of your true capabilities. You'll understand the scientific explanation on a scholarly, or what's the word I'm looking for? Actual level of what a lot of us are passing along to one another via social media, um, you know, and some of it gets to what some would perceive to be borderline ridiculosity. I know that's not necessarily a word, but the ridiculousness, which is also not necessarily a word, of some of the claims that people are putting out here are actually steeped in very much real information and science. They may not have the aptitude or the total understanding, but there's a reason why they're getting flagged, because you have to actually read the real information to know what is actually on record. It doesn't mean that what you believe isn't possible. It just means that it hasn't been documented of record, or you have to find that document of record in order to present the proper credentials as far as the individuals or groups that have recorded, you know, the results of these experimental discoveries. It's the best way I could think to say it at the moment. So, hey. you want to say something. Go on, brother. Come on with it.
Oh no! I decided against it. I decided against it. I better not. I better not.
Oh,
It's just to say that a lot of people stand to lose quite a bit if they operate in the good side of this technology. And I was about to start pointing out the people who stand to lose, but we can do that another. We can do that another show. But
hey, while we're talking about it, why not? No, there's no time like the present. So, I mean,
I'll just say the medical industry makes to the tune of $3 trillion a year.
Mm.
And William Reich did a study on what's called orgone energy.
Okay.
And he was able to use frequency to heal people. And it was very simple construction for this box that he used. It was solid piece of metal, steel wool, solid piece of metal, steel wool, and it became illegal in this country. But as I was saying, if you follow the money back, you lead to this medical industry.
Yeah.
Now we know that through the Salveggio scale, through 423 megahertz, say that at these Tibetan temples and different things, these different frequencies have a direct effect on the DNA, RNA, and the specific body parts. Kidneys, lungs, heart. You know what I mean? They all have electric frequencies going on. So you could heal them easily with this technology. But it would the pharmaceutical company who did things to people who have developed this type of stuff with Dr. Sebi and other individuals who used this type of awareness, especially the hospital that they had, another one to go look up Sound Healing Hospital in China when you get a chance, to the audience. Sound Healing Hospital. They had a hospital in China that they were running where the doctors and nurses would hum in different frequencies and use mental pictography where they would see a person in wellness and they would use that to heal them. And they got shut down and their government ran them out. But the pharmaceutical industry makes to the tune of $3 trillion each year. So when you're looking at who stands to lose the most by the active use of this in the medical field, that's who you find. It's program uses in television. If you play a certain set of colors and sounds and frequencies to people over and over again, same message on a news outlet, then it gets into the mind. Then it gets into the genetics. To the DNA, to the RNA, to the memory, and all of that, and it becomes what we operate in, and what's stored in our genetic information that's passed on to generations to follow. So that's another marketing potential that they have, that they stand to lose if it's used properly. Instead of advertisement being put out, you start to use those same colors, those same words and everything to produce things that will help people to grow, help people to do their own thing, make their own food, clothes, so forth and so on. Then those people that run the media also stand to lose. And that's what I was going to address, those two particular industries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, there's a lot of things that can be researched. I was looking at a site called Aura, the benefits of the 9 solfeggio frequencies. It says 174 hertz is known as the healing frequency. Be found to have the greatest potential effect on the physical body when compared to other frequencies. This low frequency could alleviate pain and stress, improve concentration, and give the organs in the body a sense of security. And people will go back and forth about these frequencies. I know you've encountered it and had the discussions. I would say there's certain odd frequencies. I don't know how else to refer to them. But certain odd frequencies seem to be the most effective in changing illness that has to do with shared DNA, like we were discussing, about what Billy was sharing. And the effects that prior generations traumas that translate into current illnesses or challenges, that some of us could be facing.
Yeah.
So I would say the verdict is in. This isn't something the verdict is out. It's something experimental. No, this is proven. What Tia sharing with y'all is actual, factual. And I don't want to say experiment with frequencies, but yeah, play around.
Oh, you know what? I did a frequency experiment, a good one. You know what I mean? That produced me some information that I thought was interesting. You cannot play 440 and 400, the healing frequency, and hear them both simultaneously. You only hear one or the other. You know what I mean? That was an interesting study. But go ahead. Go ahead. You made me think of that when you said that.
I gotta find the research to share with the audience, but there was a video that was circulating around social media, and there was a scientist that was an actual scientist talking about if you played these two certain frequencies at the same time. One was like a regular, I would say in the regular range of frequency, and then one was like, I can't remember if he said 11 times the rate higher.
Mm-hmm.
But if you play them at the same time, they would eradicate the C word. For those that don't know what the C word is, cancers, various kinds of cancers. And of course, like he said, I won't even speak for the medical industry because I have no connection to them. But it would seem or appear that they wouldn't want you to know these things. But on the flip side of that, there's been multiple cancers that they've already released that they have the cure for. And then of course, getting rid of parasites in a lot of European countries, they already know this. That's going to eradicate your risk for cancer tremendously. I'm gonna just put it that way, allegedly.
And on next week's episode, just in light of that selfish plug, on next week's episode, I will be dropping my website. It is being finished up, and the finishing touches are being put on it right now. And you'll be able to get your children free of parasite, yourself free of parasites, and I have preventative products so that you don't get it back. And the products that I have available on the website now are the ones that I have used myself, and the product list will continue to grow as my experience does.
Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Like, share. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Get the word out. Support us. Comment. Critique. Analyze. Just be fair. We're not easily butthurt on this program, but at the same time, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, for sure.
We want to hear from you. But thanks again. This has been another Beyond the Veil podcast. And it's been a pleasure, my man T.
Of course, and peace and perfected resonance to your highest good in your right now moment. See y'all next week.
Now moment. Absolutely. Yeah.